Video games aren't just the only thing I know how to talk about, but incredibly fun, interesting, inspiring, motivational, and the best escape I know. In short, I absolutely love video games. The media in its entirety has grown so much, and after being a gamer for years, it's been such a great ride, guys. Of course, being the person who loves to criticize and rank everything he does in relation to one another, I've gained some favorites over the years. While said favorites have been changing a lot after having a stable order for some time now, with only one new game that just recently came out earning a spot on this list, I think I'm finally ready to share with you all just what those favorites are. The only rule I'll be doing is limiting myself to one game per franchise. This is so that no one series dominates the list and to make it as interesting as possible for your public viewing experience. Yeah, who cares about how I feel anyway, right? Other than that, anything goes. Any genre, length, system, style, waifu, anything. If I loved it enough to call it my favorite, you're darn tootin' I'm putting it on this list. I think that's pretty self-explanatory though, it's just tradition to share the rules, you feel me? Enough with formalities though, we've got a lot to talk about today and I don't want to keep you all waiting any longer. So, without any further ado, I proudly present my top 15 favorite games of all time. Editing Zaffer, may Politana have mercy on your soul. Oh hey, speaking of which, Icarus Uprising has managed to remain one of my favorite games ever since that first playthrough. For those of you who played the game, you know exactly why. For those of you who haven't, seriously? What are you doing? This game nails pretty much every aspect of a good game in such fun, creative ways that it gives the title such a unique identity while being an entertaining and replayable experience overall. Of course, this isn't a surprise because it was made by the one and only handsome devil Masahiro Sakurai himself, and I think this is one of the best games he's ever made. For one, the story has a simple premise, which is to defeat Medusa, but the journey there is what makes it such a fun tale to follow, with some legitimately great twists that make it way better than it has any right to be. And to add on to that, the characters are freaking diamond tier. Everyone has such a shining personality and they're all written to feel so real. They're at their best when talking with one another, which happens a lot in this game, and unlike something like Sonic Boom where I just want everyone to shut up, here I want them to keep chatting and never stop. Pit and Viridian are a really good combo specifically, and I ship it. Want to bring that ship to a reality in a sequel, Sakurai? Oh, yeah, okay. Cool. For a 3DS game, it's one of the best looking titles on the system. For real, this is some good stuff with the bright colors, great character models, detailed environments, dope animations. I could go on and on. Top it all off with some of the best voice acting I've experienced in my gaming career, one spectacular soundtrack. This game looks and sounds great. This is the general consensus of the game though, but where things start to get a little controversial is the gameplay. Flying controls are great. Moving around with the smooth as butter movement, aiming with the stylus, special attacks I never use, everything is so satisfying and comfortable. But what's this? Oh no, ground controls are different. This game should have had dual analog controls and have been on a console or something. Man, I can't get used to these controls. The gameplay's fine. In fact, I think the ground controls are pretty awesome and I prefer these segments to the flight ones. The maps are linear but have many side paths to go to and sometimes having branching paths altogether. Add the many options you have in a combat and always finishing with a normally good boss fight, these segments kick butt. This game kicks butt. Satisfying gameplay, top tier presentation, well written characters in an already well written narrative, multiplayer, near perfect difficulty, collectibles, achievements, weapon classes, and a whole lot of charm. Icarus Uprising is such a fun time. I really hope for a sequel someday as the game and potential franchise have so much, well, potential. As it stands now though, Uprising is such a good time that I don't know if I'll ever get tired of replaying this gem. I know I've said this many times and he himself has said he doesn't want to, but please give us a sequel. Please. 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 Sneak peek of my review of the game. Smash Ultimate had me insanely hyped, and it was definitely worth all the faith I had put into the game. Though not for the reasons you might think. When first playing this game, I was honestly disappointed in a lot of areas. Once again, there are a lot of missing modes here, like the entirety of Stadium being the bulk of that, as well as All-Star mode being devoted to another multi-man melee. Not to mention, I'm not a fan of World of Light. It's so boring and repetitive. I tried marathoning it, but wow, don't do that. However, I feel like a lot of that negativity is due to my personal life, making me a bit on edge as of late. I needed to remind myself that I look for the positives, and instead of looking at this game for what it isn't, I should look at it for what it is. And it is, without a doubt, the perfect fighting game, the perfect Smash Bros at its core, and a brilliant game. Who cares that there aren't all these modes when what we do have is so polished and packed to the brim? Classic mode is, just like I called, the best iteration of this mode by far. Although I don't think I imagine me being this addicted to it. It's short, sweet, pre-established, unique to each character, and usually ends with a boss fight that regardless of who it is acts as a great challenge on top of being so much fun. I love doing the challenges in this game because of how clean the layout is, how they're organized, and how rewarding they are. Then there are over 100 freaking stages, more than 900 music tracks that are still being added thanks to DLC. The game is freaking gorgeous, and the most important aspect of any fighting game, the fighting, is the best in the series bar none. Yeah, forget your Smash 4s, your Melees, and your Smash Flash 2s. This is the best this series has been in terms of gameplay by a long shot. A bit faster than 4, so many techs and mechanics to master, every character returning being better than ever along with so many fun newcomers. The balancing is the best yet even with the biggest roster, and there are so many wacky, fun scenarios that can pop up, which makes the game such a blast to begin with. I love playing with items on this time around, and messing around on the different stages is so much fun. Of course, I do tend to play competitively, and I can definitely say I've improved a lot, so don't even try to mess with your boy, but I've really enjoyed kicking back and having a good time in Smash, especially with friends whenever I get the chance. Some of the stuff that happens is priceless, and you know what? That's what really matters. I've come to realize that the single player experience is nice, and I would love to see it get back to the level of Brawl and Melee, but the characters and crossover aspect truly is the heart of Smash, and that's what should matter to me the most in these games. Kinda lost sight of that, and I'm glad that Ultimate knocked that sense back into me because man, this game is so good. It's pure fun, deep gameplay, and a heck of a lot of characters. And really, that's what Smash is about. So to have all those at their freaking peak with some extras thrown in there for the fun of it, can I complain? I mean, yeah, but that doesn't detract from the truly stellar game that is Smash Ultimate. This really was worth the wait, and I'm gonna be playing it for a really, really long time. Now here's a game that I've only talked about on this channel once. And even then, it's in one of my super old, terrible videos that I won't tell you because you should stay as far away from them as possible. Without a shadow of a doubt, my favorite SNES game, Chrono Trigger has remained an all-time favorite after that first playthrough because, man, I love this game. I'm gonna be honest, I was very hit or miss when it came to turn-based RPGs, and with Chrono Trigger here, I guess they never... It somehow made me grow a new appreciation for the genre, which we'll definitely see later, and I can't thank it enough for that. On its own though, the game is just so good. With a story that made me remember and love all its characters, the world, each and every era, I fell in love with the universe this game had created. And how could I not? It's a time travel epic that doesn't get overly complicated, while at the same time giving the player enough freedom and input for the game to have multiple endings. That's so cool! Out on so many wild, fun, epic, dramatic, heartbreaking, real, emotional, and satisfying moments on the SNES, you've got yourself such a great story to follow along that I never get tired of. When I first played this, I wasn't too big on storytelling in my video games, but this helped me start to care more and more for the narratives this medium could provide. Other than that, you've got, oh, you know, just one of the best soundtracks to grace the entire console it originated on. I love this game's music. After just one playthrough, I remembered so many of the tracks and could still listen to them for hours. Not to mention the sprite work, battle animations, and aesthetic are just so pleasing to look at. This game hasn't aged a day when it came to the music or its looks. Even with all that being said though, playing the game remains the best part. Exploration was fun and rewarding. There were no random encounters. And the battle system was engaging as heck. I played this game in action mode, where turns are dictated by how fast your action gauge fills up, and enemies don't wait for you to pick what you're gonna do before attacking you themselves. It encourages strategy while also requiring you to think on your toes, and it's such a good time. Every enemy encounter was fun, the bosses were great, and by the end I wanted to get right back in and see another ending or two before looking them all up on YouTube because I don't got time for all that. Before I even played the game, I was told that it's one of the best ever made, and that's very clear to see. One of the best turn-based JRPGs and definitely one of my favorites, Chrono Trigger is the embodiment of a timeless classic. Mario, the face of gaming, has always given me some quality content to sink my teeth into. Name a genre, and he's probably done it with style. 2D and 3D platformers, racing games, sports games, JRPGs, party games, first-person shooters, Mario's done it all. And as much as I'd love to put Modern Warfare 2 as my favorite Mario game, I've never been able to turn a blind eye to his excellent 3D platformers. The one that takes the cake would have to be the one that recently dethroned Galaxy and truly captured what makes a good 3D Mario game, let alone an enjoyable gaming experience. Super Super Mario Odyssey is some of the most fun I've had on my Nintendo Switch, and with a console that has as phenomenal a library as it does, that's saying something. At the same time though, it's to be expected because just looking at this game from trailers and gameplay footage, it was screaming at me to get a Switch already and join in on the sheer amount of entertainment I could get out of it. The game just truly embraces the fun, cartoony, and whimsical aspects of Mario as a franchise, and in turn, I love it that much more. For one, the story makes me love the chase of rescuing Princess Peach so much more because of the stakes brought to the table of stopping Bowser from stealing your girl. And in general, the game freaking nails each of the characters. Mario is just your do-good plumber boy who's just trying to save the girl he loves. Bowser's incredibly intimidating while somehow being ridiculously goofy at the same time, and Peach just needs a break already. Oh, and shoutouts to Cappy as well, who's just kind of there, but I liked him. He's cool. Yeah, that's all I got. The game is jaw-dropping to look at, with some incredibly detailed environments and character models thanks to the vibrant colors and smooth animations with a never-dipping 60 frames per second. Mario has never looked better than he does in this title, and that's one heck of an accomplishment. The music is also really different, but I enjoyed it a lot. Every kingdom has its own sound to it, while never losing that charm Mario's music always seems to have. Then playing the game, I wet my pants because of how good the controls and world design are. Don't tell anyone that though, it's embarrassing. Mario is just the right amount of weight, has so many movement options, and because of all this, you can pull off some wild maneuvers that makes this the most fun entry in the series to just mess around in. The worlds to explore are gigantic, having so much to discover in all of them while perfecting the formula Mario 64 had introduced. I had always wanted them to go back to the sandbox 3D Mario games format, and here we've got just that, and it's better than ever. Platforming challenges, people to talk to, secrets to uncover, minigames, collectibles, boss battles, everything. The game is stuffed to the brim with content, making the non-linear experience all the more satisfying and replayable, with so much more to the game like the addicting capture mechanic, costumes, set pieces, and shirtless freaking Mario with nipples. Odyssey has made for such a complete Mario game that celebrates everything that made this franchise the way it is in style. This is one journey I won't ever be forgetting. You and 9 other people are trapped on a ship that's sinking in 9 hours. You don't know anyone except for a single childhood friend, and you have to play a life or death game that has you seeking your only way out, a door with the number 9 on it. 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors. Just with the premise alone, I was so curious as to what 999 had to offer. And when you know it, it ended up being one of the best games I've ever played. Though I will never be able to look at the number 9 the same ever again, and I still don't know how to feel about that. 999 is an excellent example of how visual novels, when done right, can truly capture your attention and never let go until the credits start to roll for the final time. The game's re-release on the PS4 and Steam specifically are what make the number 11 spot, as it's even better thanks to some crisp character artwork, hand-drawn character portraits and scenes for this game in general, and added conveniences to the gameplay. Not to mention voice acting, baby! Oh my gosh! The environments are so varied, and being that we're on a ship, the different locations in it make me truly feel like I'm in one. The visuals and setting are so immersive, and regardless of if I was playing it on my tiny DS screen or my tiny TV screen, I swear I was there. Other than that, the character designs are Mr. Clean. Everyone is instantly recognizable thanks to their poses and outfits, and I love that I can say that. The gameplay consists of you going through intricate puzzle rooms that have you figuring out just what exactly you need to do in order to move on to the next chunk of the story. These are so fun to sit down and figure out, being that a lot of these puzzles are incredibly well thought out without being too ridiculous to solve on your own. Not too long, not too short, but just right. And playing the game again and again, I don't mind going through these at all and even refiguring them out every now and then. Thankfully, in the re-release, you don't have to play them again and again, as there's a handy-dandy timeline that'll help you skip to certain points in the story, so you can check off those things to do in order to reach certain endings and not rewatch scenes too many times. That brings me right to the story, which I saved for last in this case because it's the game's biggest selling point and my favorite part of the overall experience. Out of every entry on this list, only one manages to top its narrative in my book because holy freak, this is one great story. Never before had I played a game that was so interesting just by the back of the box, and always kept me guessing as to what this or that meant. Whenever I'd get an answer, it'd be followed by another question, and I love how this game kept stringing me along, making me want to find out more and more. There's so much to talk about when it comes to why this story works so well, but I've already got a ton to discuss in this video, so I'll save that for another day. Overall though, with great voice acting, a soundtrack that's grown on me a lot over my many playthroughs, fun puzzles to solve over and over, and one of the best stories out of any game I've ever played, 999 was as wild as a ride as it was an enjoyable one. 999 was a wild ride. Wild ride? Ride? Together we rock! Fire Emblem is one heck of a series that I love to death. For those of you who haven't seen my Fire Emblem retrospective, please do, by the way. I'm really proud of it, and I need more loving comments up in there. The fanbase is scary. Then you already can know that Path of Radiance is the representative for this list. For good reason, too. This game is a fun time that stays interesting while giving a good and fair challenge, which is exactly how you make a Fire Emblem game. It's kind of funny, I love just about everything this game does, and as of right now, it's the perfect kind of game for this series. For one, the story is humongous on top of being incredibly engaging and captivating, making me keep my eyes glued onto the screen and dialogue boxes the whole way through. Not to mention that the cast has become my favorite in the entire series. I love these guys even more than my Awakening and Echoes babies. They've proven to be just as, if not deeper than those two casts showed me the Fire Emblem characters could be. Best Boy Ike is in a gruesome battle for my favorite character in the series. Best Girl Mia, Best Girl Nephany. Alright, I haven't really decided which one of the two I prefer. Soren, Boyd, Ileana, Mist. The list literally goes on and on and on. There are so many great characters here, and I can't wait to keep replaying this game, learning more about them every playthrough. While the models and environments are dated because huge anime RPG plus GameCube equals ew, the art style is so clean with excellent character and weapon designs. There's also CG cutscenes for the first time, which look decent. It even got voice acting.
Oh no!
It's really bad, but akin to something like Mega Man X4 and some parts of 999, I love it because it's cheesy. It's here for a good laugh and isn't in every scene ever. I like it for what it is, and I mean, it doesn't flat out ruin the emotional moments. Part of that is thanks to the masterful soundtrack this game has to offer. I love just about every song, from the maps to the boss themes to the glorious piece that is the Black Knight's theme. The game's sound just makes me feel the exact emotions they want me to every time without fail. And that's an achievement for darn sure. As for the traditional emblem of fire gameplay, you've got the same strategy invoking battle system that made us fall in love with the games in the first place. I mean, strategic gameplay is why we play them, right? Well, if so, then you've got it at its peak. Always moving forward, cool skills for each character, maps that give you varying missions other than multi-man melee with a race to the finish every other blue moon. There are so many fun challenges in the maps you traverse through while remaining difficult and rarely ever leaning on the BS side of the spectrum. It's just a solid game in the genre and franchise that I can't help but love more and more the further I get into the game. It's so freaking good, and after being told for years that it's the best game in the series with no way to play it other than shelling hundreds of dollars, which is absolutely ridiculous, I'm glad to have finally played the quote-unquote best Fire Emblem game because it is the best Fire Emblem game. That statement's fact now because I said it, so you're welcome, Tellius fans. Can't wait to play Radiant Dawn this year, but for now, this'll do just fine. You know, speculating on the 7th generation of Pokemon was my first video essay, and I've yet to talk about the series since then. Now, that's not to say I don't love this franchise, because I definitely still do, as it's in my top 10 video game franchises. It's just, well, nothing's ever gonna top SoulSilver for me. Hot take, Generation 4 was the best of the series, bar none. And yes, that is a completely biased statement. I feel when it comes to Pokemon, your favorite will always be the one you had the most memories with, and after being blown away by Platinum, SoulSilver was even better in a game I couldn't believe was as good as it was. Honestly, this feels like the most complete game in the series to me, and the world I feel most home at in probably any game I've ever played. I love the graphics and art style Generation 4 so much, so this game looks great to me. The updated designs for the Gen 2 cast all look so clean. These are my babies, look at them! I love them. Also, this soundtrack is so immersive and relaxing. There aren't as many hype tracks in terms of the overall, but I love the peaceful feeling this OST gives. When they do give us hype crap though, this game has a great balance between the two, and I love its music to death because of that. Of course, the game itself is what makes this Pokemon stand out above the rest. Not so much for the core mechanics, as those are always great, with this game being no exception. A great region to travel through, interesting gyms, always deep battle mechanics, so on and so forth. No. This game stands out above the rest for all the other little things this game adds on top of the formula to make it have its own identity and level of quality when compared to the others. I say little things, but really they each make a load of a difference in their own right. What are these things, you may ask? Well, your leading Pokemon can walk behind you, which is cute and amazing. There's an insane amount of legendaries to catch. You can get both mascot legendaries while on the subject. The challenge, while taking a bit of a jump later on, was nice and just made the game much more fun for me. This game was the final one to have the Battle Frontier, rest in peace by the way. And for a post-game, you have the entirety of Kanto to explore. Gym leaders, legendaries, dungeons, and all. The game is so complete, for lack of a better word, not skipping out on any aspect that the main series titles introduce. On top of me playing this the most out of any entry and just having that personal attachment to it, Pokemon SoulSilver is what I believe to be the best title in the series, if not my favorite. I love this game so much that I refuse to delete my original save file and have only replayed this game on a separate cartridge. Yes, I should have just gotten over myself and deleted the file already or used the Pokemon Bank, but I did what I want, even if it financially screws me over. But hey, video games, right? Still the best Sonic game? Still the best Sonic game. Sonic Mania remains one of the best 2D platformers I've ever played, let alone my favorite in this Blue Furball series. I kinda had a feeling it would be, just by the trailer alone. Classic Sonic is back, with new original stages that ended up being some of the best parts of the game, and that color palette with animations as smooth as that new Stardust Speedway remix. This game is so pleasing to look at without question, and in my opinion, has the best soundtrack in the series. Knowing the level of quality this franchise's music has, that's saying a lot, but are you listening to it right now? Remixes and original tracks aplenty, Sonic Mania made me drool when it came to the OST. Oh, gross, I actually am drooling. I love T-Lope's style of music, and this game made me want to support his channel and listen to his original stuff. I can't emphasize enough how much I love this game's soundtrack. One of the best on this list, no doubt about that. The game controls just like the Genesis games, or at least so close that I couldn't even tell the difference. That being said, the controls are, well, great. It doesn't take too long to speed up, there's all this momentum to mess around with, and each character adds their own spin to the gameplay without having to sacrifice the speed or make for a completely different feel of the game. Everyone only adds to the fun factor while differentiating themselves enough to justify being a different character. Levels are a blast to play through, having the perfect balance of speed, platforming, and exploration. Sonic Mania has so much to offer while being a brilliant Sonic game. And then they added more to it. I mean, technically this spot belongs to Sonic Mania Plus because it only adds to Mania and the amazing experience that came with it, so Mania Plus added 2 new characters in the form of Mighty and Ray, who are both just as fun to play as the rest of the gang. Mighty with his protective shell and ground pound, and Ray having the super cape while being broken, to put it bluntly. Encore mode was also a great new take on the game in the form of a new game plus with different colors for the zones and slightly changed level design. Only made me fall in love with the game even further. Combine this with 4-player multiplayer fun that I've never been able to experience because nobody wants to play with me, and you've got an even more complete version of a game that had stolen my heart from the start. Sonic Mania Plus is a love letter, an instant classic, and a fantastic game. Here's hoping this team does even more with classic Sonic in the form of a sequel with all completely new stages. If anything, it'll keep the classic frick out of our 3D games, and if that's not something to be excited for, I don't know what is. Surprisingly enough though, it's not my favorite 2D platformer anymore. Yeah, I know. I was shocked too. Oh come on, I thought that was a good segue. Azure Striker Gunvolt 2. Man, what a game. I love the original already, but they really brushed up the formula and expanded on it to make the game I think handles the genre better than anything else. Hot take, I know, but this is my personal list, so, deal with it. For one, the story was way more interesting than it had any right to be. It truly embraces the over-the-top and weird scenarios while taking itself way too seriously, along with the likable heroes and villains alike to reach max enjoyability. There were a lot of times where the game actually kept me on the edge of my seat, and that ending even sadder and more satisfying than the original at the same time. No, I don't know how they managed to do that, but they did. With the new HD remake for Switch out, which you should totally buy, just throwing that out there, the game's never looked better, having a solid 60 frames that rarely dipped, crispier looking sprites, and enhanced visual effects. The game is freaking gorgeous, and I'm so glad that my TV was able to get blessed by it, and the soundtrack, which is low-key a bop, especially all those Lubin and Lola songs, which are Vocaloid-inspired tracks. They still make a great reward for racking up all those points, and life hack, they're just as hype when you listen to them on their own, so go do it! I classify this as the best Mega Man game in huge part due to the controls being so freaking tight. This guy is lightning-based because it's a direct representation of how fast he'll respond to your button inputs. Trust me, I'm on the internet, so I must be right. Not to mention his new spin on the run and gun gameplay is so fun to master with a system that encourages constantly replaying the stages again and again to get better at them, which is what I want to do thanks to how fun and creative the level design is. Oh, did I mention that you could also play as Coben this time around? A character that gives his own spin on the tag and freaking murder gameplay that's just as fun to play as Gunvolt. The game is short, but it encourages constant replays and mastering the mechanics, which is great in my book and something that I definitely do. Not to mention that there's some great customization, epic boss battles, and bonus levels after you beat the game. Unless you're playing the 3DS version, because in that case, those bonus levels are DLC. More power to the Switch players? You know, I didn't think this would end up being my favorite 2D platform, but I couldn't stop playing it after that first time on the 3DS. Everything about it was so dang tight and fun that after every playthrough, I just fell more and more in love with the game until I couldn't deny myself anymore. Gunvolt 2 is my favorite Mega Man game and my favorite 2D platformer for just being such a great time that makes me want to master it. And you know what? There's absolutely no shame in that. I'll go play the game already! 999 showed me just how great visual novels could be, and Danganronpa V3 was the Risei Kujikawa of the genre because yo! Danganronpa as a franchise is still something I love very much and will continue to for years to come. Every game was a wild ride that was crazier and more satisfying than the previous entry, with V3 being not only my favorite entry in the series, but in the genre as a whole. This game blew my mind on multiple occasions and absolutely deserves to be this high on the list. Reason number one, look at the footage I'm showing you. Without a doubt, one of the best looking games I've played, and not needing to have super duper realistic looking models or textures, none of that. It simply gives you crisp 2D art portraits of all the characters, has some stunning visual effects, smooth camera pans and zooms, and remains something visually appealing to look at. Don't pay attention to the 3D models though, those are still ugly as ever, but hey, these character designs in a series that already excels at them, yes please, I'll take 16. Then there's the soundtrack, and it has no right to be this hype. From the hub world themes to the music that plays in every moment to the jaw-dropping trial themes, I can't shut up about the Clash Trial Space Edition theme because it gives me goosebumps every time I hear it. Just listen to this. Piano Man, what the heck? Quite fitting for our ultimate pianist protagonist, right? And if it being the best looking and sounding game in the series wasn't enough, it's also got the best voice acting that really gave me chills in many areas. Not to mention they got rid of tank controls, gave more free time, added even more bonus scenes to increase replay value and encourage exploration and semi-completion, gave us even more fun Clash Trial minigames, old and new, while somehow making Handman's Gambit not a total pain in the butt, and to top it all off, gave us what I believe to be the best story ever told in a video game ever. No, I'm not kidding. Danganronpa V3 was one wild ride from beginning to end, always answering questions while bringing up new ones, starting nearly every chapter with a new way to mess with your head, engaging in real dialogue, character interactions that made this cast the best in the series and one of my favorites of all time, plot twists that still keep me up at night to this day, and all topped off with one of, if not my favorite ending of all time. The story was a masterpiece the whole way through, and while it was controversial, to me, it was perfect for the series in a beautiful way to wrap up such a solid trilogy. The story alone made this game earn a spot on my list. It really was that good. Lucky for it though, the rest of the overall package helped it get this high, so hey, that's nice. One of the best experiences I've had in my gaming career. I kid you not when I say that it's worth investing into this series just to get to this entry because man, oh man, what a game this is. And remember, no crying until the end of chapter 1 because kicking off the top 5, it's my favorite Nintendo game that hasn't been topped since my very first playthrough, Xenoblade Chronicles. I really need to find more excuses to talk about you. Why? Said literally no one? Well, to answer your question, literally no one, it's because the game left me shook just one time through and only keeps growing on me the more I let it sit in. And I played this years ago. While the graphics are on the Wii, I will say that I love the art and character designs. The locations are all beautifully crafted together on top of being creative, making the world a joy to travel through just in terms of the jaw-dropping aesthetic. Then there's the game's music. Fellas, may I introduce to you what's still my favorite soundtrack in all of gaming. I love me some style and a little bit of everything, but the sheer orchestral spectacle that is this game's soundtrack still captivates my heart like nothing else. That's not to say this game doesn't delve into other genres, which it does, and still manages to pull off exceedingly well, which is a big factor of what makes this collection of music stand out to me so much. But man, this is some good stuff all around. I can listen to this OST for hours on end just zoning out. I freaking adore it to no end. Even still, the story and gameplay is what made me fall in love with this game more than anything else. The more I think about the plot, conflicts, world, and characters, the more depth I notice everything has. The seemingly simple story of defeat the bad guy evolves into something so complex yet easy to follow, with great themes on revenge, fate, unity, and atheism. Expectations are subverted all the time while never feeling cheap or out of nowhere, and on top of cutscenes playing out like a freaking action movie thanks to the camera movements and top-tier British voice actors, it's such a satisfying tale to see unfold, all topped off with a great cast of characters. If you haven't been picking up on the trend, characters are most important to me in a narrative, and Xenoblade has one of the best. I love everyone here, and getting to know each one more through the many heart-to-hearts was a freaking joy. And the gameplay, while taking some getting used to, ended up being so fun to figure out and attempt to master. Emphasis on attempt because I suck at it, but I can still say for certain that it was way more fun than I thought it'd be. Definitely experiment with different characters, that's where the real fun happens. It also acts as confirmation that Melia is best girl. Hashtag Melia deserved better. Xenoblade Chronicles overall was way better than I thought it would be, and I already put my expectations somewhat high, being that it went around for $80 freaking when I got it, but man, I got nothing. I just really love this game and can't wait to play it more and more for years on end. If there was one series I remember the most fondly growing up with, it'd have to be Kingdom Hearts. It's been so nice growing up alongside Sora and his friends, seeing just where the story will end up next, and watching the games evolve over time, for better or worse. Through all the changes, different turns, characters, and stories, man, Kingdom Hearts 2 is still the most fun this series has provided thus far. First and foremost, getting the elephant out of the room, I freaking love this game's story. Is it nonsensical in many areas? Of course, but you've just gotta roll with it. When you accept the fact that this game's story is just gonna go wherever the heck it wants, you kinda start digging it and enjoying just how over the top and wild the narrative is. Also, shoutouts to the characters Sora, Kairi, and Riku, all grown up and bringing a tear to my eye with their sick new outfits. Gotta love their new designs this time around. Organization 13 is full of really cool villains and heroes? Final Fantasy guest stars to make me smile even if I still haven't beaten a single game in the franchise, and Disney star appearances being just as awesome as ever, like Mulan and Jack Sparrow. Oh, yeah, the realistic looking characters definitely show their age even in the HD remaster, but everything else looks fantastic. The vibrant colors, expressive characters and cutscenes and gameplay alike, battle animations, flashy effects, this is one great game to look at for a darn fact. Then there's the music, which is just amazing. Upbeat, emotional, hype, or whatever it needs to be at the given time, this game accomplishes it and then some. Yoko Shimomura, a composer for Xenoblade Chronicles and the main composer for the Kingdom Hearts series, is my favorite in the industry for a really good reason. That reason being, she's ridiculously talented. Above all else though, I can't believe how deep and satisfying this game's combat is. Of course, swinging around the Keyblade is fun as ever, but it's so much more than that. There are all these mechanics going on in the background, and playing the game on critical mode, you really are encouraged to figure out and master it all. Regardless of if you're trying to challenge yourself or have a leisurely experience, the game remains incredibly fun to play, which is such a high achievement and so hard to do. With different locations to go to, secret areas, some of the best bosses to ever grace gaming, many weapons to choose from, constantly gaining more moves, spells, and abilities over the course of the game, and never dropping in the fun factor once unless you get the anti-form, Kingdom Hearts 2 has some of the best gameplay ever. And of course, there's my nostalgia and personal bias, but I mean, can you blame me? Rarely anything comes close to the feeling I got when I first saw that opening cinematic and heard Sanctuary for the first time. To this day, the song still makes me tear up. Then there are the moments scattered across this game in regards to Sora, Riku, Kairi, Roxas, Axel, everyone. I love this game. It's so good. Who knows if Kingdom Hearts 3 will capture the same amount of magic this game did, and who cares? All I know is that this game is very important to me, always will be, and that's more than good enough for me. I love me some Kingdom Hearts 2. Persona 4 Golden. Is that not a more fitting name to differentiate this from the vanilla version? No? Well, okay, geez. Mood killer. Persona 4 Golden is a game that I had been dying to play for such a long time. I remember laying in bed watching the original game's opening over and over again. It was so stylish and cool looking with that incredibly catchy opening theme. And on top of that, I kept watching that old Game Trailers review of the game and hoping to someday play it. Years later, here we are, and it's managed to climb all the way up to my top 3 favorite games. Yeah, the personal value is strong with this one, but don't worry. Even without my rose-tinted nostalgia glasses on that I look darn good in, might I add, Persona 4 Golden and Persona 4 in general is such a freaking great game. What got me hooked first was the game's visuals. It's a PS2 game that's been brushed up to be brighter and sharper on an HD system, so it obviously isn't gonna look the best, but I love the PS2's old graphics aesthetic so much. What can I say? I grew up with the console, and the old models will always have a soft spot in my heart. Art style wise though, it's a masterpiece. The menus having subtle cards and TV layouts, those dope character designs, the look and feel of the small town Inaba, and the game being so unapologetically anime. I love that so much more than I probably should. Also, bless up for the anime cutscenes. Then you've got some of the best voice acting I've heard in a video game, and this music. It's so J-Rock? rock, J-pop, orchestra in a few areas, so persona and gave the game an identity of its own. The game's sound is so memorable on top of being heavy on quality, and I couldn't help but buy the game's soundtrack immediately after I played it. The story of the game was fantastic. Fitting into a new town you have to stay at for a year, living your life among friends, trying to figure out why the heck you can go inside a TV, wield mythical beasts, and figuring out who the heck is murdering people. A murder mystery! Yes please! Everything about this narrative is so well paced and interesting, all glued together with a cast that's only topped by one other game. Everyone here has the depth and intrigue of a protagonist, and I loved finding out so much about all my party members and the side characters, especially this one, especially the reason why I can face the terrors of this world, especially Best Girl Rise! Look, I don't want any trouble. Just say that Rise's best girl in the comments and we can go about our day just fine. The gameplay is what ultimately made me love this game so much and encouraged me to replay it again and again. Half a life simulator where I'd go to school, make friends, get a job, sneak out, fish, go to the beach, get all cozy with the highlight of my gaming career, so on and so forth. I never expected to be so invested in living my life through a video game, but this kept it interesting not only due to the writing, but because it also played a part in the other side of the gameplay, dungeon crawling, turn-based battles, teamwork to overcome my challenges, the back and forth between the two styles, how they complement one another, and all surrounding time management and making the most out of my 1-year stay in Inaba. Persona 4 Golden always keeps things interesting while pushing forward a great story and experience overall. I love sitting back while I live the life of an anime protagonist and being on the edge of my seat while facing tough enemy encounters and bosses. Along with this game getting that extra push because of my personal bias and having just played it more than any of the others, Persona 4 Golden is simply a joy to play, and no matter how many times I play the game, I'm still gonna romance Rise, because why the heck wouldn't I? What kind of heartless jerk do you think I am? You know how I said back in my final remix review how The World Ends With You is one of my favorite games of all time. I'm talking top 3. It's super good. Can't say that you never saw it. Wait, stop, that wasn't on the list! The World Ends With You is a game that I didn't think I would love nearly as much as I do. I say this because a friend of mine introduced this game to me about 5 years ago, telling me that it was better than Kingdom Hearts of all things. Any JRPG better than Kingdom Hearts at that age was just preposterous. So much so that I had to play the game myself. And after beating it, it was aight. Then I wanted to play it again for some reason, and all of a sudden it was not only the best DS game I've played, but one of the best games in general. And shocker, I like it more than Kingdom Hearts. Oh, young Zafre, you foolish child. Just look at this game's aesthetic, dude. Such a stylish 2D art style that's so proud of what it is. With dozens upon dozens of people walking the streets of Shibuya, the game taking place in, well, the streets of Shibuya, witty dialogue that manages to get really emotional and down to earth when it needs to, and those character designs that freaking go off. I think this game might have my favorite character designs out of any game I've ever played for how different it all is. The game really sucks you into its world because there's nothing else like it, and the uniqueness is one of the best parts of the whole experience. If that wasn't enough, listen to this game's soundtrack. No, really, listen to it. Stop the video, go find a playlist of Final Remix's OST because it's the best one, listen to all of it, then come back and watch the video. I'd say it's right behind Xenoblade Chronicles, or even just as good but for different reasons. There are so many genres presented here, and I love all of them. Yes, all of them. There are so many bops here, it should be illegal. How do you expect me to concentrate on anything when I'm banging my head to some of the best music ever conceived? The answer? You don't. The story and gameplay once again capture my heart so much. Yeah, those are definitely the two aspects I love the most in video games, and this game excels in these areas as well. Gotta love how the story's focusing around the characters! Guys, I love characters so much. Any plot focusing around a cast's growth is a win in my book when done right, and this is one of the best. Neku really has to broaden his horizons in order to figure out what's going on and become the person he needs to be in this game's conflict, interactions with the cast, seeing the world change around you, the mysteries, the twists, the perfect ending. It was a very clean, tight experience the whole way through. As much as I memed about a sequel, the story is so great on its own that it doesn't need it. I mean, at least that's what I would have said until I played A New Day, so yeah, I'm still bitter about that, but whatever, who cares? Not me! The cast, man, this cast. The more I play this game, which is a lot, the more I love them all, each having their own stories to tell, pasts, growth, all in completely different ways. Everyone is so well written, what the heck? Especially Neku, who's definitely the second best character, because we all know this handsome stud is #1. Amongst all this though, the gameplay is so vastly different than any game ever. Name me one game with the same kind of combat. Yeah, that's right, you can't! Controlling two characters at the same time is such a hype, adrenaline-filling combat system that's so hard to master, yet so rewarding. And it's because of that this game managed to capture my heart on a level I could never predict. I have fun grinding. Great bosses, great customization in terms of moves, armor, and characters, a fresh new world to experience in a JRPG, top-tier designs and art in general, top-tier music, an insanely great story with insanely great characters. Everything about this game is so phenomenal that I can't help but constantly replay it. I can't help but constantly talk about it. The World Ends With You simply stole my heart to no end, and I freaking love it. And despite all that, it's still not my favorite game. Trust me, I know this was obvious. Honestly though, I don't care. I tried to keep it low-key for a while there, but sometimes you just can't keep your love for a game to yourself anymore. Tales of Vesperia has had me shook from the very start, but why? What does it do so differently? I mean, we get it, right? The story and characters are super great, the visuals make me wet my pants, the incredibly memorable soundtrack sticks with me to this day, and the gameplay is good. Is that all there is to it? No, of course not. First of all, those are very bare bones ways of describing how I feel about each of the parts of the game's base. This is yet another narrative that surrounds the main characters and their growth, which is another instant win. Especially in this game's case because the sky is blue, grass is green, and Vesperia has my favorite cast of characters. I can't stress it enough. I really can't. I just love them all too much. I could and definitely will make videos on each one of these guys individually because there's so much to love about every single one of them, especially my daughter Rita, and a strong contender for my favorite character in the series, Yuri Lowell. And have you been looking at this game's cell shading? The characters' expressions? The vibrant colors? Tell me why this game came out in 2008 and it's still the best looking entry in the series. I love this game's looks, both technically and art design wise. Character designs, the world itself, monsters, battle animations, visual effects, anime cutscenes, everything. This game is still sexy. Same to the voices. Best English dub. Best English dub. Of course, I played the PS3 version for this video because it's simply the better version, but you know, won't have to wait too long to change that! Again, I know it's not the best in the series, but I love this soundtrack to death for how memorable and fun it all is. Also, you know it's low-key got some of the best tracks in this franchise. That second world map theme, every battle theme, some of those towns, memorable dungeon songs, Fury Sparks. I rest my case. And the gameplay manages to be some of the best without having that new modern combat this series has been leaning towards. That's because it puts such a heavy focus on player skill and comboing standard attacks along with arts, conquering so many challenging and satisfying bosses, learning the ins and outs of the combat, experimenting with different characters, and having the option to play with friends. Yo! I would show that off, but nobody wants to play with me, so whatever. And in a fun world to explore, dungeons that are pretty darn good, so much customization with weapons and armor, and you've got a solid JRPG. And on top of all of that, it manages to hit all the right notes with me personally. I'll be honest, my dream game has always been one with a great story, greater characters, beautiful game graphics, music I can hum and remember for years to come, and gameplay that'd be so fun and addicting akin to a fighting game and would allow my friends to jump in and out at any time they wanted. Didn't think something like that would ever exist, but then I found out about this series, and this game not only sealed myself as a fan, but gave the entry a place in my heart from the start. And the story really came at a perfect time in my life. The theme of justice has made for some of my favorite moments in any game I've ever played. I'm kinda glad I've got Japanese dialogue on my screen because spoilers, but man, so many confrontations and conflicts surrounding what is and isn't just made for some jaw-dropping moments. There's a reason this is my favorite cast, I'll say that much. And as someone who really struggled with the concept of justice and the gray areas of what is and isn't truly doing the right thing, I love the commentary this game gave on the theme. Honestly, that's what it boils down to. This game really came at the perfect time. I feel like that's the case with everyone's favorite game. I'm trying not to get cringy here, but like, what do you say, man? This is my favorite game of all time. I know it's not perfect, but it definitely resonates with me so much. I feel like you just know when a game's your favorite. Playing through this game the first time, there were so many moments where I thought, dude, am I playing my favorite game right now? And I thought that was impossible. I used to have a very defined top 3, being Sonic 3 and Knuckles at number 1, Kingdom Hearts 2 being second, and Tales of Vesperia managing to be third. Vesperia had me questioning that a lot once it was all said and done, but being honest with myself, this is my favorite game without question. I love JRPGs, I really love the Tales series, and I freaking adore Tales of Vesperia, my favorite game of all time. I'd love to hear what yours are and why they reached such a high status in your eyes, and let's keep on loving the games that impacted us the most, because Vesperia definitely impacted me more than anything I've ever played, and I love it for that very reason.